Welcome to the Okiki Podcast, where we make inspirational people known. Brought to you by your host, Fiyin Obayan. You are listening to the sounds of inspiration. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Okiki Podcast. And today I'm really excited to have Paul Adamson, who is currently Senior Financial Analyst at Amazon. Paul joined Amazon in 2020, and he also currently serves as the Finance Manager for the Diversity and Inclusion team. And additionally, he serves as Global Co-President for the Black Employee Network that serves over 20,000 employees. And just with a wealth of knowledge, I'm just really excited to have him on the podcast today. So thank you for being with us, Paul.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I want to get into your story and your journey in terms of your educational career path. And was it always on your mind to become a financial analyst, or were there other things you wanted to be when you grew up, for lack of a better word?
Hidden secret about me, I am a very nerdy person. So I actually wanted to be a marine biologist or mechanical engineer. So I was building robotic lobsters in high school to test like things inside of the Atlantic Ocean to figure out like World War II war mines and like taking water samples and making sure the ecosystem on the beach was good for like algae growth, right? That's what I wanted to do. And I went to school to pursue a degree in computer science. But during that time, it was 2008. It was in the middle of the financial crisis in the US. And my parents ended up losing their home. And because they ended up losing their home to foreclosure, they weren't able to qualify for the loan. So I essentially was about to get kicked out of school if I didn't find a way to find some money and some scholarships. Long story short, was able to find about 65,000 in 2 weeks, and from there I said I'm gonna switch my purpose to finance because I never want someone to have to choose between their dreams and money. And been doing this stuff ever since. So creating pathways for other people to learn about money, how it works, and how to get their hands on it.
Wow, that's incredible. An incredible way to, I guess, work on something that could have been really like, the end of someone's road, that you really took that initiative to create opportunity. And also, I wanted to kind of get into even your career pathway, if you don't mind. I noticed that your first degree was at Morehouse. So I was curious, like, how did that impact your career? And I guess along with your personal story too that you just mentioned, how did that impact the way you go about your career as beyond just going to work and seeing it as a career?
First and foremost, if you had the opportunity to go to HBCU, I would go. I think a lot of professionals, especially African American or just people of the diaspora's professionals, biggest regret is that the fact that they didn't go to HBCU. So going to Morehouse literally changed my life for a few reasons, but one of them I'll highlight is the brotherhood and the connection. I've worked at now about four Fortune 500 companies. And every single one that I worked at, not only did I have someone who graduated from Morehouse, but I had someone who graduated from my graduating class. So I literally had a brother who was there with me to help me be able to assimilate into corporate America. But the biggest win that helped really shape the way that I go about my career, my philosophies, especially incorporating my biggest kind of pain point, what I mentioned, like not even almost being able to finish school, is the fact that you can literally be handed any obstacle and you already have the tools and resources to overcome it. So that's how I approach my career. There is no such things as challenges and roadblocks that are insurmountable. There are only opportunities of which you can choose to grow over. And I just choose to look at it that way. I don't get bitter, I get better. And the better you get, the more help you get. And the more you help people, the more people will help you. So I always look at it in terms of I'm not chasing, I'm attracting. And because I have brothers and I have support systems, it's only about scaling and magnitude. So if you have a lot of people trying to attract the same thing, odds are you're gonna pull it in. And it's the same way I approach my career, it's the same way I approach relationships. It's really the same way I've been approaching even our situation. Like, how can I help you? And that's why I'm here on this podcast sharing gems. So hopefully my story can help someone else.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing like the importance of that and even that unique perspective. We don't have those in Canada, but I'm always curious about what that experience would be versus a traditional university and what opportunities that creates. And also, like the fact that you've taken the knowledge that you have beyond yourself to serve others, as you mentioned, and to serve the greater Black community as well. As a co president of the Black Employee Network, and also in your current role, what initiatives are meaningful to you? And why do you feel that this is a valuable space for you to contribute?
I'll keep it as simple as possible. It's this: I literally get paid to help marginalized people learn about business, be able to do business with literally the second largest company in the world, and to be able to take the resources, skill sets, and the culture of the diaspora and really export that and put it on a platform globally, right? So a lot of companies, you may impact one country, right? Like I actually used to work for a Canadian firm. My very first job was with BMO, so Bank of
Oh
Montreal,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's an international company. But there's a difference between that and an Amazon and the scope that I have here to really be able to affect change in Europe, in Costa Rica, in South
Mm.
Africa, right? In Australia, in the US, in Canada. So we're doing things from sponsoring Caravana, right, in Toronto to doing things for Freedom Day in South Africa. So the
Mm.
scale is the biggest piece that keeps me motivated to do this because it's great to change one person, but in this role and in this org, I literally have the ability to change the world.
Yeah, really unique perspective. And I do also appreciate that you highlighted that because I think a lot of people look at a big brand like Amazon and they probably don't know the scale of what they do beyond like the fact that they use Amazon to order things. I know I personally do all the time. So it's really interesting to hear, yeah, just the that there's a lot of touch points with that organization and with the reach that you're able to have with your role as well.
So just to put it in that context, right? Like you order something, there's probably at least 1,000 people that work to get you that package. From the
Mm.
people who are the suppliers themselves to that business that is actually producing a product to where you go from the back end IT people who manage the website and all the way through the fulfillment center, right? To get it to the blue van that brings that package to your door. There's so many lives. And like just that alone, like people don't really understand or really like pay attention to the nuance of how these things work. I get to see all of that and I get to touch and impact all those people.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I guess I'm kind of segueing into another part that kind of goes with what you began to tell us about. And I guess the question is like, where are some of the gaps that you would like to fill in wealth development in the Black community? And I guess what are some of the obstacles that you feel that they may have in approaching like major brands like Amazon? And I guess I'll give a backstory for those of you listening to the podcast for the first time. You might not even think of that as an opportunity or option because, as Paul just mentioned, there's so many people actually involved in what makes that organization what it is today. But yes, so I guess maybe I'll divide that into two. Like, what are some of the wealth gaps you see for the Black community that you would like to see filled and how they could go about it? And what are some opportunities they may not have thought of with organizations like the one you're with?
And it's not just a black community issue. It's literally all marginalized groups. But I'll address it
Yes.
from the black diaspora lens, right? It's education, preparation, and opportunity, right? The education means knowing thyself, right? A lot of people don't know themselves and know what they want to do. They also don't know what they can't do. So first you have to really take that self reflection and understand what you need to do. Now, the opportunity piece is once you know what you want to do, you just need to be put in the right position at the right time to go execute. So with that, when we talk about finance and the wealth gap, a lot of that is people just don't really pay attention to the way money works because they don't know how they work. So I'll give prime examples like some people live paycheck to paycheck. They actually make enough money to sustain, they just don't understand their spending habits and how they're budgeting, right? So they don't even know how their money is moving in and out. So that's the biggest piece. Once you understand how your money inflows and outflows, you develop this thing called cash flow. And then you'll be able to take that cash flow to invest and grow and scale. But if you don't know your budget and you don't know yourself and you don't know your money habits, you can't get to point B, which is the opportunity. So when you have opportunities to invest, whether it be a stock market, whether it be a business, whether it be an extra course, whether it be a vehicle, right? You can't invest in it because you didn't know how to manage the money because you didn't know how to manage yourself. And then the last piece is like scaling and being in a position like Amazon, right? So Amazon is going to give you the ability that if you had a great opportunity that you took advantage of, you can scale it. And you can only scale things that other people are going to believe in because you have proven results. So that's really the pain point of, I think, all marginalized groups. And really for us specifically as Black persons, we have to really do the work to sit down and build that discipline. And like, I get on my friends a lot too. I'm a gamer, right? So I'm like, you would learn all the controls in Call of Duty. You would learn all the controls in Fortnite. You would learn all the controls in 2K. But you wouldn't learn how to invest in the stock market. You wouldn't learn how to register a business. You wouldn't learn how to start a website, right? And these things are simple things. You wouldn't learn how to get on Instagram and create content and have a podcast and break that down into different digestible segments and get advertising and sponsors and affiliate links, right? There's so many ways. So like that's the first part of your question. The second part of your question is, okay, so how can someone use a platform like Amazon to make money? It's so many ways, right? So many ways. And you don't even have to be super advanced, right? The first thing you can do is sell a product on Amazon. It's super easy to set up. You could do what people are looking at drop shipping, where you're buying things in essentially wholesaling. You're buying things in bulk and then you sell them for a different price and you make money off the difference. You can create your own individual products. You can create books. You can create podcast content and do it and put it on Amazon AMP and be able to monetize that. That's just the easy, tangible things. Now, on the large scale things, you can be a consultant. You can find something that you do very well and you can teach other people or exchange your goods and services to them to do that. You can become a large scale supplier. Like people have to build the warehouses, people have to own the delivery vans and own the trucks that we deliver our products from. Someone's getting paid to do this. Why not you? And there's programs that help you to do it.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for the amazing breakdown of that question because you kind of went from like basics of personal finance to the different layers of revenue streams and specifically what works with Amazon. So thank you for sharing that with our audience today because I think there's some things, especially even going into Supplier, that will be very new for them. I also wanted to ask, I guess, beyond that, you kind of touched on it, but how you feel there's a lot of like education and like work that needs to happen with Black community, marginalized communities. Are there any kind of motivational resources, sources, education places that you would recommend to these communities to kind of get started on their process?
This is gonna sound crazy, but try it, right? Start with what you pay attention to most. So
Mm,
if you're a shopper, look at where you spend your money and you shop, and I guarantee you, you're interacting with a company that's publicly traded, right? So if you
mm-hmm,
shop at the mall, someone owns that mall. Look up who
mm-hmm,
owns the mall. You'll be able to find financial statements on them and educate yourself, right?
mm-hmm,
So you want to pay attention to the stuff that you care about. So if you like sports, if it's shopping, if it's food, if it's culture, if it's travel, you can look these companies up. And then on every single website, they have this section that's like either investor or investors relations or about us. And they put out these statements. And every year they got to put out an annual presentation. And it's a nice little PowerPoint. And it's going to tell you everything you need to know about that company, where they're growing, where they're not growing, where their struggles, where their strengths are. Also, some of their competitors. So now you can also learn about other companies that are in the field that you may not have known about, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, and this takes 2 minutes. You can do this on your cell phone right now, right? So that's the base level. The second thing I would say is YouTube and find a really interacting and engaging podcast like this one, right? Some of my favorites are also EYL, Earn Your Leisure, is really great for people who want to learn about investing and learn about business. They
Yeah.
also do these things on YouTube every Monday. Also, I have a educational development company where we teach people financial basics as well as advanced financial things at 247K. But the biggest thing is finding someone who can meet you where you're at in your financial journey and can offer you the help that you're looking for. So that's why in my previous answer I broke down the whole spectrum because someone should be able to give you all aspects, but you just got to know what you want. Again, knowing yourself. so you can go and get it, because too much information, just like everything else, is a bad thing. So you want to make sure you get the information you need and enough of the other pieces where you know where to go get the rest.
Yeah, that's really good and sound advice. And I've definitely seen Earn Your Leisure. I didn't know about yours, so I'll definitely want to look that up as well. Education's great. And of course, knowing where do you want to focus in is super helpful as well. I know you talked a lot about like the different opportunities for Amazon for individuals to, create wealth. Have you seen similar opportunities for individuals from other countries as well? I wanted to touch on that because I know I do have listeners from Nigeria, like Canada, obviously. And like, does it look similar for different countries in some ways? And what is some of your advice with that, especially as you mentioned, you got to work with and touch upon so many different places around the world?
Yes, man, yes. And shout out to Nigeria. Nigeria didn't know carry last, right? So the challenges are similar. They may not be the same, but they are similar, right? What works in the US, if you just put a Canadian touch to it, will work in Canada. The same thing's gonna work in Nigeria. At the end of the day, business comes down to math. Do you make more money than you have to pay out? And if you do that at a high enough margin, it's going to work anywhere. So I would say this, right? In terms of diverse business programs, they literally have some of these things in pretty much most countries, right? For instance, Canada, they got CAMSI, right? They have WeConnect in Canada. That's similar to what they have in America with WeBank, which is like the certifying agencies for women-owned businesses, right? In Nigeria, they don't have as much. However, they are Pan-African connectivity trading partners. In the US, for instance, is a huge connectivity partner with Nigeria, right? But the biggest thing with this is we have the internet. This is a global business environment. This is a global world. People are watching your podcast, like you said, globally. You can also sell globally. And you're selling your product doesn't necessarily have to be a physical good or product. You can sell information. You can sell your ability to solve problems, and there's no limitation on geographic location when it comes to solving problems. So essentially, the problem set that people have, people struggle with money everywhere, right? I can sell money solutions anywhere. People struggle with advice on how to advance their career everywhere. It's no different. You just got to start to think that we're more alike than we are different, and that 5% is not worth throwing out the 95. Focus on the 95 and help close the 5.
Thank you. That's an amazing answer. And yeah, just so many nuggets there that the audience can take away. And I guess one of my final questions for you is where do you see supplier diversity in the next 5 years?
To be honest, in an ideal situation, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist because we should get to a point where we have enough of the initiatives that took a greater impact on the business imperatives, so that way people understand the value of having diverse businesses within their supply chain, right? So my job should be obsolete because it should be standard, right? Equity and inclusion and fair business practice and opportunity shouldn't be driven by individuals who have an extra will to make it happen. We all should be doing that. So in 5 years, I would love to see my job not exist.
That's definitely ambitious and a stronger answer than I even expected. But it's so true. Like if that's the standard and if people are seeing the value, there shouldn't be, I guess, a need to have all those rules created or necessarily have push coming from outside places. And I guess my final question for you is what do you value the most about the position that you're in today with your career, with the way you serve the community that where you've gotten today?
Man, you asking some good questions. These are tough, thought-provoking questions, man. I would say this is gonna sound a little personal. It's gonna sound a little generic, but like making my parents proud, right? As I mentioned in my first answer, my parents lost their house in a foreclosure in 2008. And a lot of that was due to them like betting on my future. My parents literally bet the house that I was going to be successful. As you can see, I think I'm doing good. That might be a really great investment that they made. And that's really it. Like you have to define your own personal why. Like, yeah, do I want to help the world? Do I want to help the community? Do I want to solve inequities in finance? Yes. But the thing I want to do most is make my parents proud. And I think I'm doing all right.
That's awesome. And I have to say that's the first time I've gotten that answer, but I love the answer and how it connects to the story. And also, I think that's actually relatable for a lot of us culturally too. I think we want to do that with ourselves. So I can definitely say, yeah, you've done that, and the way you're helping the community, we're very grateful for your contributions as well. So thank you so much, Paul, for being on the podcast today and sharing so much wisdom and so much enthusiasm. And I guess if the audience wants to connect with you, where's the best place for them to follow what you do?
I have a website that you guys can reach out to and get some information on. It's 247kinvestments.com. I'm pretty sure she's going to add a link to this in the comment section so you can follow me there. I'm also on Instagram where you can find me 247K Investments. And if you have personal career things, you could connect with me on LinkedIn. First name, last name, Junior. Only guy with a beard and a microphone. So I'm not hard to find. I will say that I am very busy. So, I mean, I might not always be there when you want me, but I'm always there when you need me. And I promise you, I'll be worth the wait. So, a lot of resources we try to connect people to, we try to give it pro bono. So, meaning for free. But there are for profit things that we do. Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or of course, following through the website and then catch me on great podcasts like this or Liv Simpson, who I met you through. So I can't forget to plug the 12% Accelerator and the goodness for those women there. And I'm honored to be on this platform with you and others from your community. You guys are an inspiration. You guys are the future. You guys are the present. And I'm just happy to be a little bit in the speckle of your story. So looking forward to building more things with you.
Thank you so much for sharing all that today. Yes, we do honor Liz as well. Thank you for that mention. That's how I learned about Paul. So definitely check out that podcast as well. And yeah, thank you for all the value you shared with Okiki Podcast today and the community here.
All right. Have a good one.
And I also would like to introduce today the Okiki Video Bootcamp. Yes, I will be launching a course, which I will have a waitlist in the show notes. And I will be launching some group coaching as well. I know there has been a lot of requests lately of people wanting to learn how can they create content for their own brands. And so I'm looking forward to bringing you along in the journey with that. If that's something that you've wanted to gain skills and techniques on, this will be for you. You'll learn systems on how to create content effectively and efficiently and have more time for yourself in the process while reaching your clients. Again, you can find the information for the Okiki Video Bootcamp in the show notes below.